this out.
Hey everybody, I'm Giles and this is JDM World. Today we're going to talk about Atmos. That's right, Atmos. That's the special sounds that fly around your ceiling in some really cool theaters, right? You might have been to a Dolby Atmos theater and had a really great experience. Well, you can have this in your home too, but in the past it's been a little expensive, but 2020 is the year that Atmos becomes mainstream. I've been running Atmos for, about a year now in my theater, and I love it. But, the equipment was expensive and there weren't a lot of options, so it wasn't really something that everybody could get into. But now the options are just going absolutely nuts. So we're gonna cover the top 5 reasons why it's time for you to jump into Atmos. Coming in at number 5 is content. So just like 4K back in the day, there wasn't anything to watch, right? You might buy this gear, but if there are no TV shows or movies to watch, what good is it? Well, it's the same thing for Atmos. However, times have changed and content providers have caught up. And when I say content providers, I'm talking about everything from Blu-ray discs to streaming services to even the internet. You can get as much Atmos as you want to listen to. So first, let's talk about the actual physical media. So any 4K Blu-ray that you buy, and this is in the United States and most other places as well, is going to include an audio track that is Atmos enabled, meaning that it's mixed with all of the cool Atmos effects that can take advantage of that equipment in your theater. In addition to that, almost every streaming service that exists today includes Atmos in at least some of their content. And this is everybody. Vudu, Netflix, Hulu Plus, Amazon Prime, iTunes, Disney Plus. Between physical media and then all of the streaming services, there's going to be more content, like I said, than you could ever watch with Atmos. Coming in at number 4 are source devices. So just like before, if you didn't have source content with Atmos, installing the capabilities in your environment didn't make sense. Same thing with source devices. You gotta have something to play Atmos back with. Luckily today, there are tons of options that you can use in your room to play back Atmos content. We're going to talk about 3 different ones. So the first is the most ubiquitous one, right? So the 4K Blu-ray player is going to always have the Atmos capability. That is now a feature that you can't escape. It's ubiquitous and it's awesome. So if you're a physical media kind of person, you're going to be able to play back Atmos absolutely no problem. The second set of devices are streamers, right? So these are the boxes that you add to your environment to play back the Netflix and the Amazon Prime and those things. And there are a ton out there. Now the leaders today are the Shield Pro and the Apple TV 4K. NVIDIA just released a 2019 version, and I'll link that up so you can check that out. And I use that in my theater, and it's awesome. Now, it has some problems with Disney Plus right now, but that will get worked out. I don't think you can go wrong with either the Shield or the Apple TV 4K, but there are other options. You can do a Fire TV Cube, the Fire Stick 4K, the Roku does Atmos, as well as Chromecast. So many options in price points all the way from $20. So, it's almost time for Black Friday and Amazon drops the price on everything out the floor. So you can pick up a streaming device very inexpensive. So from 20 to 250, whatever your poison is, you can find a device that will allow you to stream Atmos. And then finally, if you own a TV, and most of us do, all of the top tier brands will have apps that can stream Atmos from some number of providers. So LG, Sony, Samsung will have apps that can stream from some service, maybe not all of them. But if you don't have the option to go out and pick up a device and you have a TV, a smart television, then you should be able to get Atmos in one way or another. Coming in at number 3 are receiver options. And this can be an AVR or separate pre-pro, whichever you prefer. So this is the device that's going to take the feed coming from your streamer or other device that's pushing that Atmos content down. It's going to actually decode it, and then it's going to either send the amplified signal to your speakers, or it'll send the signal to amplifiers, which can then in turn send that down to your speakers. 2020 is going to be the year that Atmos absolutely breaks out. And why I say that is because there are going to be a large number of 16 channel capable devices flooded into the market, and it's going to drop that price point for 16 channel units, which is then going to push down the price of everything else, right? I think the sweet spot for the enthusiast, meaning the kind of person that's really into a home theater, will be that 16 channel and maybe even a 20 channel unit. But that'll be a different video, because we'll talk about bass management and those kinds of things that really isn't available today, at least in a good capacity. But anyway, back to Atmos. Those 16 channel units are going to push down the price on the more standard 9 channel and 11 channel, right? And you even see some 13 channel units today, but that's kind of the high end stuff. And I think those are mostly going to be lost in the mix, because you'll see people that want to do 7.4. So that's your 11 channel. So 7 bed channels and then 4 channels up in the ceiling. And those units, you know, you can already get those for $850 on sale. You know, that might even come down to the $600 range. And then for folks that are looking to do 9.x.6, so 9 bed channels and 6 on the ceiling, you'll be able to jump into a unit pretty soon for $4,000, right? And before now, you know, the entry level price was $5,500 for, I believe, the Acurus Muse. And then after that, the price jumped up really high. And before Acurus dropped their Muse, you know, you're looking at something like a Trinov or something else. And those price points are Storm Audio, and those price points are really, really, really high. So the AVR / pre-pro market is just going to go absolutely nuts in favor of the consumer, with tons of options that we haven't had before. And talking about the different 16 channel options that are available, Emotiva has 3 units out, I believe today, that you can purchase that do 16 channels. Monoprice has the HTP1 that's dropping pretty soon, and that's only going to be 4K. And 4K is a ton of money, I understand that, but compared to what you had to spend before, it's a really great deal. Acurus has the Muse for $5,500, which is really cool. It's a 2U unit, smallest one that's available on the market. Arkham has the AV40. Audio Control has an X7 and X9 dropping in Q1 of 2020. So lots of things to check out from a hardware point of view. If you're going to go 16 channels, recognize that that means you're going to go pre-pro with separate amplification. There's a cost to get to that point, but I really like the flexibility of being able to change amplification, upgrade, swap it around without having to touch that processor. Sometimes you'll get caught into the loop of, okay, there's a new feature that you need in your AVR and you're going to buy it. Well, if you're going to do that, you have to buy the amplification that's included in the AVR. So you sometimes spend extra money on amplification where you don't need to. I really like the preprocessor option that you can go with that allows you to have those two as separate investments. All right, at number 2 are speakers. And this one might not be as obvious as the others because, you know, speakers, right? You've got them. And if you want some, just buy some more and mount them up in the ceiling or however you want to do it. Well, there are different ways and strategies that people can enter the Atmos ecosystem at different price points, right? And speakers really can allow you to get past some of the other investment if you want to. And what I'll do is I'll kind of start at the bottom and work my way up. So for folks that are looking to get into Atmos, probably at the lowest cost point possible, there are sound bars that allow you to do 7.x.4 Atmos type of environments. Now, is it as good as discrete speakers all over the place? Probably not. Well, it's not. But for certain rooms, you don't want to make that kind of investment. So this is a really good way to go. So you can take the output from your 4K Blu-ray player and jam it into the soundbar, and it has some tricks where it can bounce sound off the ceiling to create that Atmos effect. It's not as good as having the actual speakers up there, but it's better than not having it at all. And the price is typically thousands lower than, you know, a discrete system. Now, outside of soundbars, which you can get from Samsung and Vizio and LG and Sennheiser and Nakamichi. There are tons of them. And I think Nakamichi's already into their Black Friday sales today. So there's a lot of good prices out there. Outside of that, there are also different ways of mounting speakers in or on the ceiling. So I think it's very important for people to recognize that within ceiling speakers, meaning the ones that are kind of flush to the ceiling, they can sometimes give a good experience and sometimes not, right? There are certain ones that are built with angles that can make your seating area more on axis, but typically an in-ceiling speaker is going to be an off-axis listening experience, and it's not as good as it could otherwise be. Now on ceiling, where you have brackets and you can point those speakers directly at your seats, that is, for me, the best Atmos experience. And I'll be creating a video about that content. It'll be in Giles' Journey, episode number 10, 11, 12, something like that. And I'll go through that whole process of doing that ceiling mount, pointing, and then getting that on-axis experience. Now, there's another third kind of environment for Atmos speakers, and these are either the Atmos enabled speakers, meaning they have like a tower with speakers built into the top that are upward firing to bounce it off the ceiling, or modules that you can set on top of the tower to bounce sound off the ceiling to give you that Atmos effect. So that is kind of a band-aid, but if you don't have access to the ceiling, or you just don't want to make that level of investment with all the cutting and cables, I would absolutely buy that type of speaker or add the Atmos modules just so you can get some Atmos. It's really that good. And finally, the number one reason that you should get into Atmos right now is because it sounds amazing. I know you're saying, what? All of that just to get to it sounds amazing? Well, it really does. There are so many movies now that have this technology built in. This sound processing is pretty much a requirement if you are serious about your home theater. It sounds good. It's not a gimmick. You'll still see folks saying, oh, I don't want to buy into Atmos. It's a gimmick. It's not the real deal. It's totally the real deal. I would say that things like 3D, which were a fad that kind of came and now have gone, is more gimmicky, but I absolutely don't see Atmos going anywhere. And there's a number of reasons for that. And one of the most important ones is just the dollars and cents of it. You have so many companies invested into the Atmos ecosystem selling gear that they're not going to pull away. They've made the investment to integrate this into all of their product lines. So all the Denons and the Marantz and the Onkios and the Audio, all these folks are heavily invested into the Atmos environment. And then movie production studios, they're invested as well. They've spent the money to be able to create Atmos mixes for their films, and they don't want that to go away. So I don't think anyone should have any concerns that this is going to be a flash in the pan. It won't be. It's here to stay. And now, since it has become ubiquitous because it's in every streamer, it's in every processor, and it's in every Blu-ray player, it's easy, right? So you don't really have to go out of your way to get the gear to enable you to get this done. The only hard part is figuring out how you're going to implement those speakers into your environment. And you can do 2, you can do 4, you can do 6 or more, but most people in the enthusiast realm will do 4 for sure, and hardcore folks are going to go 6, especially now with all the new processors that'll be out in 2020. But even if you only have the opportunity to do 2 speakers or even 2 modules, it's totally worth it. It adds a layer of sound to your environment that you would otherwise completely miss out on, and it makes it just that much more immersive. So that brings us to the end of the 5 reasons you should get Atmos now. Or if you want to do 16 channels, maybe the 5 reasons you want to get Atmos in January of 2020. But you got to do it. If you haven't heard it, find a friend that's got it and go listen to it. Go to a Dolby Atmos theater, listen to it. It will blow your mind if you haven't heard it yet. It's really good. Thanks for watching. And before I let you go, please take a moment to subscribe and like. Smash that subscribe button. It's a really small thing for you, but for me, it's a huge deal. This is how people measure my channel, and the more subscribers I have means the more content I'm going to be able to bring back to you guys. So thanks for watching, and may the sound be with you.